We are been trying to figure out what is the military progress in this case. The information is imperfect. How have you been analyzing it, and what do you see as the military status of the war right now?
The fundamental problem the Russians are facing is that they have started a campaign with no idea what they were taking on, and they don't seem able to admit what they've done. They started a campaign they thought they would win in 3 to 4 days with light casualties, with sort of basic Ukrainian resistance that would end up with a victory parade in Kiev, and it would all be over by now. They completely underestimated what the Ukrainians would do in resistance, and they overestimated what they could do. The issue that they face now is they need to fight an entirely different war, and they're probably going to need a new army, because this army is, from what we can tell, in terrible shape. It's exhausted, it has frostbite, it has super high casualties. So they need to basically reconsider everything they're doing if they're going to have any chance to sort of impose a political solution that they want. But what we don't see is them sort of understanding that in the way that you would think, that they're still sort of sitting spread out around southeast and Ukraine, and now not moving. So by a strategic sense, it doesn't seem that they really know what they're doing.
There's no way of knowing now, but I suppose when the history of this is written, we will find out how much of this was, in a certain sense, deliberate by troops whose not just hearts were not in this fight, their minds were not in this fight. They actually disapproved of this fight.
Well, you know, there's a really interesting thing. And when you think about it, we think armies are motives. The soldiers are going to go in and they're going to fight for their country or the propaganda. This regime that Putin has, people are not in some ways wedded to it in the way we think. When people serve dictators or authoritarians, they often do it for the benefits. They don't want to die for a dictator. They don't want to die for this kind of brutal rule. And the Russian soldiers are looking here, and they're not going in saying, I'm fighting to defend my homeland, or I'm fighting to defend my mother and father. It's really, you know, I've been thrown into this thing. I wasn't told what this was going to be. I was deceived about this invasion. The Ukrainians really hate me. They're fighting against me very hard. I've got frostbite. I've got terrible food. And it does look like the Russian soldier now is doing as much to protect, to simply stay alive at this point, than to sustain military operations.
What would it look like going forward if the Russians were to change tactics?
Well, they have to change an army. I mean, you can change all the tactics you want at this point, but this army has now been in the field for almost a month. It's suffered huge casualties. This army probably has a few weeks left. There's no way they're going to be able to surround and take Kiev. I mean, they hardly move. I mean, if you look at the map, the Russian army has basically been immobile for most of the last 2 weeks. So they can't just change tactics. They're going to have to get almost a new army in if they're going to impose a solution to take over much more of Ukraine.